Oh God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My heart thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land. So I look for you in the sanctuary. Oh, the cry of my heart is more of you. There's a desert in my soul that needs your water. Oh, my cry to you is fill me. Every broken place, Lord, heal me. For the cry of my heart is more of you. Oh, the cry of my heart is more of you. There's a desert in my soul that needs your water. Oh, my cry to you is fill me. Every broken place, Lord, heal me. For the cry of my heart is more of you. More of you. More of you. Oh, the cry of my heart is more of you. More of you. More of you. Oh, the cry of my heart is more of you. More of you. More of you. Oh, the cry of my heart is more of you. More of you. More of you. Oh, the cry of my heart. Oh, the cry of my heart. Oh, the cry of my heart. Yes, the cry of my heart. Oh, the cry of my heart is more of you. It's more of you. It's all we really want. God, it's all we really need. It's our heart's desire. We want more of you, Lord. We need more.
Good afternoon. Good evening. We are ecstatic about the opportunity to serve the Lord with gladness on today. Um, Welcome to the 58 days of prayer and fasting with Dorothy Scott. Let me tell you something. God has been good to us. He's been faithful. He's been kind. And we are literally on day 57. Oh my God. I think I have my machine. I think I got my machine here. All right. We are literally on day 57 of God's goodness, God's faithfulness, his kindness towards us. And we've literally been on a journey of transformation. We've been on a journey of reflecting. We've been on a journey of being honest with ourselves. We've been on a journey of pursuing the heart of God. And can you not testify and be a witness on today that God has done a work in my life. He has turned some things around. He's opened up some doors. He's given opportunities, and so we're just excited. We're grateful. I'm going to be your host today as we attempt to help wrap up these 58 days. How many of you know? I'm going to say this, but how many of you all know that this is not the end? We're coming to the end of the 58 days, but I believe God is birthing something new in Evangelist Scott and Mama Di. I believe he stirred her spirit. Ain't no way in the world she's going to leave us high and dry after being with us for 58 days. God is going to stir something else in her belly. And she is cracking up at me like, oh, really, really? I have the honor today to sit down with her. We've heard many of her stories, many of her experiences, but today she is going to take us into the depth of her life. She's going to show us a peek at the price that she had to pay to be the woman that she is today. And I am honored. I am excited that I have the honor to discuss with you the book that made her an author. The book that made her an author did not come from intelligence alone, but it came through life experience. She has lived this thing, and it has become the mantra of her ministry, of her life, that she has found the weapon, the tool. She's gained the wisdom and she's sharing it with us in her book, The Abuse Stops Here. Now, if I was the preacher today, I would just we would go straight into revival behind this. But I am so excited to hear how she's going to share with us the power, the key, the door to stopping the abuse. If you would, put your hands together and welcome to the forefront evangelist, author, teacher, prayer warrior, intercessor, friend, mother, daughter, auntie, gamma dot, not grandma, she gamma dot. Dorothy Maybelle Scott. Let's welcome her as she comes.
I can't believe that you said Gamma died.
Gamma.
Oh Lord. How to do?
Hi, hey,
And y'all,
hey, hey,
we
hey.
made it. 57 days. Tomorrow's gonna be the last day. I remember when I first started this thing, I was like that second day, I was like, we will not. This ain't gonna make it. I'ma just have to repent. The God is not I can't do it. But now we're here.
We're
Praise the
here.
Lord.
That's right.
Praise
We
the
got
Lord.
it.
Hmm.
We got it. We got it. And
Well,
so let
our host today is Pastor Michael McCann's. He is. We were supposed to do this yesterday. He had something to come up, and so we put it back to the day. If I could, I would put it back to Friday, and we wouldn't have to do it at all. But he's a pastor, apostle, the prophet. You got how many churches? How many TV shows you got out there?
We
He's a
just thank God.
co-author. Huh?
Go ahead. We just thank God for Dorothy Scott. I finally got my sound working right. Here's my audience.
You need to stop. Just stop.
So we get a chance to take a look into the innermost part of your life. This is probably when I was a part of the journey. I was a part of the journey when you wrote the book. But and I say, well, I don't have to read it because I was there. I remember being read the chapters over and over, having the conversations and all that. And then I sat down to get ready to have this conversation with you, and I read line upon line, precept upon precept, and I said to myself, "Wow, it's amazing how you can be in the room while something is created, but still have no idea what was birthed." This book, I mean, wow. Oh wow. I am thoroughly impressed by how you allowed this to be emotional testimony. It's a testimonial piece, but it's so steeped in theology and in practicality. I don't think I've ever read a book like this before, where it's so many dynamics. You don't just tell your story, but it's almost like I know how this is how I pictured. This is how I pictured it. I pictured you being 98, 95, 98 to 100 years old, sitting in your rocking chair with all your grandchildren or great grandchildren sitting around your feet. And you're literally trying to tell them and teach them something that is going to help them down the road of their life. And you do it sharing your experience, but you teach it in such a way to them that it matters no matter what sector of life they find themselves in. That even if we never have the experience, we won't need the experience that you went through in order to apply the principles that you teach us. What I'm saying is these are pearls that you have left us that I'm just honored to know the person who wrote the book. I mean, this book is literally in libraries. You can go check it out, the library, it's all over. And to know that somebody's going to pick up this book, somebody's going to order this book, buy this book, and whether they're going to read your story and go, oh, wow. But they're also going to look at their lives and say, oh, yeah, and be the better for it. And so let me first thank you again for, having the courage to share your story. You start off in this book telling us about your childhood, about what kind of family you grew up in. And you grew up in what we would consider to be a very successful family, a very wealthy family, successful family, well put together. You are the oldest girl of two boys, 3 girls.
It's 5 of us. It's 2 boys and 3 girls. My oldest is the boy is the baby and the oldest. So we have Frank Jr., Dorothy, Geneva, Samara, and Mary.
Yeah. And so the great family, great, careers going forth and all that jazz. And we get to the point in your life where you are, in your childhood, of course, you take responsibility for a lot of things, right? You're almost like mom in the house. Your father really depended on you, for a lot of things. But when you get older and you say, I moved into my own house and I needed to, I'm paraphrasing, but you say, I need to dry clothes because you have to wash clothes, but there's no dryer. And you date us a little bit because I remember it. you needed a clothesline. And I was like, God, I ain't heard a clothesline in forever. And I remember dating Pastor Hope. She couldn't talk on the phone or even go out until she got done hanging the clothes on the dryer. I mean, on the clothesline, or taking the clothes off of the clothesline. So you make a phone call, and this is probably, you argue that this is one of the decisions of your life that you wish you never had to make. You did not want to make this phone call after you made this phone call, because it was the phone call that literally changed your life.
Yeah. We didn't grow up in a just to make it a little bit
Yeah.
clearer. We didn't grow up in a rich home, but my father had his own business, and at one point he was working like 50 something people. But we had to work. We were always given chores. We always had stuff to do. At the point where I needed the clothesline was when I had moved into my own house. Well, actually, I had finished school. I came back home. My sister, who was mentally incompetent, had a baby that was 10 months old
Mhm.
and was pregnant with another baby. I stayed with my father for a while. When I moved out, I brought Deborah with me. Then my sister got pregnant with Dorian. And when she got pregnant with him, by the time he came along, I had him, Deborah, and I was helping my brother with his son, Sherry. So I got three little people, right?
Mhm.
And I'm washing clothes, but I don't have a clothesline or a dryer or a place for the dryer in the house. So I called a friend of my father's who was just he used to do a really really good job, you know. And he was just like an uncle, and we called him over to do the clothesline, and here we go. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. 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 Um, you were taken advantage of in one of the in the one of the most horrific ways that I've ever heard of in my life. To the point that when you tell this story, you tell the story from the perspective of a lady named Belle. And what most people
That's
don't know
easier to
about you,
do.
yeah, yeah, what they
Yeah.
don't know about you is your name is Dorothy Maybelle Scott.
Dorothy
And,
Maybell. And my friends in
and
college would
uh-huh.
call me Bill.
Yeah, they will call you Belle, and there was a name given to you by your grandfather, right? And
Yeah.
and you hated the name from as for a child. You did not like the name. And so it just made
The only
sense.
thing I liked about my name was I was named after my grandmother.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah.
only thing. But she didn't
Yeah.
like the Bell part of her name
Belle part.
either. So
Yeah. But I love this. You say this in the book. You say Belle is a name that I was given by my grandfather, but I did not like the name. It was always shameful. I was always ashamed to use it. So you use Belle to tell the story of what happened that fateful day. But then you go on and you say this. But my greatest truth is, and when I read this, I could have cried. You said, but my greatest truth is found in my first name. And it's also a name that was given to you by your grandfather, Dorothy, which means a gift from God. Then you later on write, I am a gift. When you hear me say that, talk about that. I mean, because when I read that, that was not just you interpreting your name. You literally, it was like you found your
my
call.
true identity. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to us about that.
Well, Dorothy means gift from God.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at my life and I look at my personality, and even today, um, I'm always giving. I'm always
Yeah.
giving of my time. I'm always giving of my resources. I'm always um sacrificing my joy for somebody else's, sacrificing my life for somebody else's. I have given a whole lot to the point that my biggest failure is learning how to receive. I
Yeah.
don't receive very well. And
Yeah.
if I'm not at a position where I can give, I feel
You
like
don't
I'm
want to
at a
receive.
point of failure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when people get ready to give to me, it's like, no, what do you want? What do you want? What do you
Yeah.
want? Because you know
Yeah.
she's gonna give
Yeah.
you something back, so what do you want? And
Yeah.
even to when people come to my house, I feel like I should be able to give them something, you know. So
Yeah.
it's crazy, but I've learned that because God made me not to be selfish,
Yeah.
or to put myself first, it's easier for me to make the sacrifices necessary for ministry,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
You make this, you quote this author that's unknown. I like this. And I'm wondering why you inserted this right here. It says, I cheated on my fears, broke up with my doubts, got engaged to my faith, and now I am married to my dreams.
I cheated on my fears because I was always afraid to do anything that would benefit me. And that's what
Ah,
held me back. I
ah.
remember one time I had bought these African vases, and they
Mhm.
were beautiful. And my sister came in the house and she said, "You need to give me that because you don't deserve that." And I gave it to her because I honestly felt like I didn't deserve it. And
Wow.
she still has them today. And but one time I was afraid of um being good. I was afraid of doing the things that I wanted to do. And when I said I broke up with my doubts, I never thought I was good enough to do it because I was always the heavy one. I was always the uglier one out of my siblings. I was always, the fat girl. So it was like my self-esteem was so low, and I doubted that I had the abilities or the skills to do anything. So I always had that doubt. And when it says got engaged to my faith, when I learned that my faith wasn't just contingent upon me, but it was upon me
Ah,
resting in Jesus, then
ah.
it was like, yeah, I'm married to him. He's got me. And if I do mess up, and if I don't make it, if I fall short, um, I'm okay. And one
Let
time, I
let
think it was one morning when I was listening to Creflo Dollar, and he said, "We can stand on the faith of Jesus.
Yeah.
We can stand on the faith of Jesus." And I was like, what? And it was just like a blanket of security that fell over me that said, and when I saw this, I was like, wow. And then now I'm married to my dreams. I'm looking forward to some things coming to pass. I'm looking forward to I'm going to be Dr. Dot Scott. I'm gonna be Dr. Dot
Yeah,
Scott,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
be some of the things that I've always dreamt about being. And I'm even with this 58 days, it was getting married to my dreams because I always dreamed about doing something like this, but I never had the courage. So
Yeah.
when I
I
saw
love,
this, and I don't know who wrote it, it was so powerful.
yeah,
It was me. It was me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that engage when you talk about, I just taught this on yesterday, no, on Monday, how we have to have faith in the God who controls the results. It's not
Yeah.
about believing for the results. It's about believing God. It's about standing on in God, standing on His promises, who He is, because God is responsible for bringing the promise to pass. That's God's responsibility. Our
Yeah.
responsibility is to just obey God, to believe Him, and respond accordingly. And so that's just absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So you go through this horrendous experience, which you would have to buy the book to get the full details as to what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was horrible. Um, and to be honest with you, you know, The fact that you're still here is just a miracle all by itself. That you're sound in mind. That you are. Um,
It's a
uh,
process, Michael.
yeah.
It's a
But
process. That sound mind part.
yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
process because every March 6th, I have to
Yeah.
fight trying not to remember. This week, I Sunday, I just took a small step and kind of knocked my back out. Well, the back problem originated from that day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
a lot of the issues that I had, I had, I think, 3 operations behind this. As I've, openly said, was not able to have children as a
Yeah.
result of this. So it's like, even now, because I live alone, I double check locks 2 or 3 times. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
have to be really tired to not double check and triple check those locks. You know, I don't allow people, especially men, to become close to me. I don't let people know because the process is every day. It's
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. 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 I love how you put it here on page 31 when you said, but I am grateful that God never left me.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
wanted to leave you.
Yeah.
I thought that wow, Michael, you finding stuff. Um I don't read this book, y'all. But one of the things was I felt that because I had to go through because I went through it, I was like, okay, God is just like everybody else. He doesn't care anything about me. Let me
Mhm.
just use
That's
her up
good.
and whatever. And
Yeah.
I really didn't care for God, and I wasn't a strong believer before anyway. I
Right.
got saved when I was 18, so I was growing, but I wasn't in a nurturing church. I wasn't in a word church, and I was kind of like just here and there. But this happened 11 days before my 27th birthday. I'm still a
Yeah.
virgin. I'm still
Yeah.
saving myself. I'm still
Yeah.
hoping for marriage and that
Yeah.
special wedding
Yeah.
night. I
Yeah. Yeah.
believe in the covenant
Yeah.
of the blood.
Yeah.
And when a man marries his wife and she's a virgin, the blood is shed and it seals the vow. It's more
Mhm.
spiritual than anything. And
Yeah.
that was what I wanted. And if
Yeah.
you read when you're talking about my early childhood, my father used to always say the greatest thing that a man has when it comes to his wife is the fact that he knows he's the only one.
Yeah.
He said
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is such an honor. He said, and when everybody knows what you got, he said, good or bad in bed, it don't matter as long as he's the only one knows how you are,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's how he was with my mother. And then when things changed in their marriage, I guess that all of that brought up. So he knew how it felt on both sides.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when this happened, I wanted that. And then when it took away my dream, which my only dream was I was gonna have my 7 boys. God
Mhm.
was not included in my plans.
Right. Right. Right.
I was gonna
Right.
marry me
I mean,
a man, and we were gonna go on archaeological digs, and we were gonna have them 7 boys, and that was it. God was not included, but he sometimes he knows. Well, it's not sometimes. He always knows best.
yeah.
And I really gave up on him. I was really the time that I was going to church. I was going because I knew my kids needed to be in church, but it wasn't for me. But
Yeah.
he didn't leave me. He
Yeah.
knew my heart. He didn't just get mad at me for getting mad at him. He didn't just say, you this happened, and and I really don't believe it was God's perfect will for me
Yeah.
that this happened.
Yeah.
But God
Yeah.
will take a bad thing and turn it around for His glory.
Mhm. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, to have every reason in the world to every logical reason to have hate, to be hatred, to have hatred, to be nasty, to be rude, to be self-pity. You fought through this. You because God was with you, somehow you knew it, and it gave you something to move on with, right? You go on in the book and you start talking about, because this is what this I'm telling you, this book is going to take you from testimonial.
Ooh.
you go get a little theological, then you go get practicality. I mean, it's all. So here she starts going into some theological things. She probably is not going to admit, she probably don't know, but it's called the doctrine of oh boy, of harmatology, whatever, what talks about the doctrine of devils. Or another word for it is she begins to teach us on demonology, which is the study of demons or the study of devils. And so she starts talking about identifying the spirit of rape in the abuser. Let me read this. Let me read this here, and then maybe she could give us some overview a little bit. She says, rape is one of the most violent and controlling of the strongholds of the devil over both the believer and the non-believer. And it does not matter if it is the victim or the abuser. Now, I could have screamed because you really could have used this entire book to demonize and destroy rapers, right? But you are very conscious and clear throughout the whole experience that this is a spirit. The person is controlled by a demon. It's not the person, it's the spirit, right? And so you go on and you say the spirit of rape is very powerful adversary against humanity. And one of the ways that it is able to do what I call a sneak attack against us is because it often hides behind other spirits. This is good. This is good. We have to be able to recognize the spirit of rape and all of the spirits that are attached to it when they present themselves. So much is in that. Yeah, go ahead.
You got to understand that, all right, one of the sexual spirit is one of the strongest spirits against mankind. If you can't control the lust in your heart and in your body, in your mind, then you can't control anything. And one thing that rape does, most people who are rapists have been either molested, have been fondled with, have already been abused in one way or the other. They have
insecurities.
And if you listen to the testimony of Donnie McClurkin, he was not born homosexual, but what happened to him? He got raped by his uncle. Then, a couple of times, then got raped by his uncle's son. And that he in his words, he says it was the Pandora's box that got him used to intercourse with men. Well, a lot of times, people who are highly anointed, if the devil can destroy them through the spirit of rape, he will, because it takes away all of your security. When you know that this is your body and you have absolutely no control over it, and somebody can come and take it and use it as they will, it takes away a whole lot. And it gives birth to forgiveness, give birth to unforgiveness, to hatred, to bitterness, low self-esteem. A lot of people who have become were raped. If you look, they are now hookers, they're on drugs, they sell themselves. If they get married, a lot of times, a lot of times they do not respond appropriately in bed. A lot of people who have been raped are sexual perverts, and all of that comes in, and it knocks the person off course and makes them believe that there's no way God could love me, and this has happened to me. And then it's even worse when the people who are doing it are people who were in the church. So now you have to learn how to live over all of this. And at one point, I honestly said it would have been easier had I died in the midst of it than to have to fight all these years and continually have to deal with it. And a lot of times, in the church, we don't address it.
Because let me say something right there, because a couple of weeks ago I had an opportunity to do some mentorship, and This person is highly gifted, highly anointed, loved the Lord. You know, great personality. I mean, great individual. But we begin to talk about sexual relationships between man, man and woman, or whatever the case may be. And there was this girl that he was interested in. He's infatuated with her, but because he doesn't have the social skills or the interpersonal relationships techniques to engage, all he knows is church. He doesn't know how to engage a female. So he spends time with her. He's in love with her. She's not. But he starts this spirit you call out the flirtatious spirit, where he flirts with her. And I had to say, listen, if she said to you that she's not interested, there is not an amount of spirituality you can put on that, flirting or anything.
But see,
because
now that flirtation spirit has now progressed to an obsession.
Exactly. Which opens the door. It's right. I said, because one day she'll get in the car with you and you will do something and she will say no, and you will ignore her wishes and go further. And the next thing you know, you just raped this child or you molested this individual. It's just that, you know, it's I'm not making excuses for no one's behavior. I just love how you take the time to help us understand and be aware of how simple it is to fall into being a vessel used to take advantage of somebody else, or how susceptible we are to not paying attention to what's around us and allowing ourselves to be put in predicaments where it happens, or even you help me out here. Help me with that.
You got to understand that a lot of men, because in the United States, there's a program called 1 in 6.
Yeah.
Because 1 in 6 of every man, out of every 6 men have been raped or molested. 85% of those who were raped or molested by women. And now you have that homosexual spirit because that is birthed out of that, because they don't want a woman. Because it was a woman that took their manhood. It was a woman that took their identity. And the sad thing about it with men is that when they're fondled, their body has a mind of its own, and they can't just, their head might be saying no, but their body is still responding to the touch. And then that spirit is birthed out. And then you have those women who were fondled by women. So now either they're going to be homosexual or they're going to just turn numb to everybody. You have a lot of people who suffer, and the majority of them block it out. It's easier for men because they just brag that, I had this older woman or whatever. But if he's a minor, it's still rape. A lot of times we don't want to see it that way. So we have to be careful because there is so much where we see people and you wonder why they waited so long. Well, I was born in a day where it was an honor to be a virgin when you were a man. Right? Nowadays, not so much. People think you're crazy because you have not lost your virginity. So then there are things like the virginity loss challenge, and then they be wearing the bracelets where you pop my bracelet and I perform certain acts with you. So the young people have taken it to a whole nother level, and social media and television has made it even worse, where they feel like it's okay for somebody to rape you or to be involved in orgies. So now group rape is considered, you have to prove that it wasn't consensual, that you had multiple partners. Because of the way society has become, and it's really dangerous. And these spirits are being transferred, and we don't know how to deal with the outcome, because now this person has post-traumatic stress disorder. They have psychological issues. They have, fears, and all kind of stuff, and they're just trying to put a label on it and give them some drugs. Then the next thing you know, they're addicted.
Yeah. You say here, the monster or abuser is identified by the spirit of rape because he is in ownership of the following spirits. So you start itemizing a flirtatious spirit, always behaving playfully in a way that give them the permission to express. And I'm gonna move on from this, but let me point out, I'm raising girls, and I happen to pastor some younger females, and I say to them all the time, when a man violates you, do not laugh, do not become.
Well, if he pats you on the butt, no. You go. What are you doing?
Yeah, you stop.
You don't have that right, and you bust him right then, because if you don't, he's gonna feel like it's okay. But what you have to realize too is, if my father was doing it, my uncle was doing it, and I was told as a child, you better not say nothing when this man comes up.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to watch that flirtatious spirit. You can't talk to me any kind of way. Now we like it because they say we got the macaroni stuff. Stuff like noodles or something, splash like, I don't know, anyway, let's move on. I just don't understand the saints. I don't understand how you allow yourself to be validated. But anyway, so an abusive spirit, right? They always insulting you. Now, have you ever noticed that this spirit shows up a lot when they as long as you're doing what they want, you're sweetie, honey, sugar, baby. But when you say
a lot in marriages,
marriages, relationships, as soon as you say no, now you will be, now you this, now that's a spirit of abuse. My father used to have that spirit, and when I would tell him no, he would start attacking me, and I had to stand up and say, wait a minute, listen, we're going to church now. Everybody who lives in this house is going to church. If you're not, you need to stand on the other side of the door and let me lock my door. Because as for me and my house, we're going to go serve the Lord. You can say what you want to say, call me what you want to call me, but this is the rule, this is the standard, and I'm moving forward. But most of us will bend to the abuse because we don't want to be called out, or you need to prove to me that you love me, or
But one thing too, with people who suffer from domestic violence, a lot of times they are abused and they're isolated, and they have to prove their loyalty by bending. They have no way. And then the fact that if it's spousal rape, it is so hard to prove, because it may be consensual today and it may be rape tomorrow. And consensual is not really that she's spiritually into it, but it may just be that, all right, let me give him some, let him go on to sleep so I can have a couple hours of peace. So it's no telling. But then if some men are like, let me just go ahead and take it whatever way I can take it, because that's how I'm gonna put you in line. I'm not in one of my seminars, so I'm not going to go all the way where I could go with that. But that abusive spirit is there, and it comes from the women too. Because the fact that they don't trust, they will say all kind of things to men, and they are abusive too. So it goes both ways. It goes both ways. A lot of times, because we don't know and we're not taught how we should be.
You putting your hands on them and carrying, that's abuse. It's abuse. All right, a controlling spirit, right? Where the person puts, I call that the spirit of witchcraft. Where you set limitations and restrictions in place to make me bend to your will. Spirit of domination, always wanting to have control. The spirit of rage, is sudden. Scream burst of anger. Don't tell me about he just going through because his mama is gone. No, she just like that because no. That's a spirit of rage. You angry. We need to deal with that. The spirit of perversion. Boy, we could spend hours on perversion, but we're just skimming through here. Let's just skim through.
I'm not even opening this book. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
this book.
So I mean, this is powerful. I mean, there's all of this. You to isolate it to just your testimony is it's an insult. This is literally a warfare. This is a book of warfare. This is a book that's going to literally help you put the devil in check. You need to get it. The abuse stops here. You want to know how to stop the abuse? Now, see, we're using rape as a content, but I mean, the way she identifies these spirits and how they function and operate, and the byproduct of what happened because this happened. I'm gonna tell you, this is the best way to beat the enemy. Look at here. You say right here. So you said on an important note. This is an important note, and I'm gonna move on. It is important to note here that Baal, at this point of her life, refers to her abuser as the monster, because that's how she sees him. But we have to remember that her attacker is not a monster. He's a man. And he has a soul that needs to be saved. He, like all of us, needs to make a choice to be delivered from his sins, also to be delivered from the evil spirits that resides in. Once again, I'm going to revert back to this statement. It's amazing to me. This is the talk of somebody who has forgiven. This is the talk of somebody who has matured. How you take the time to point out to us, we need to pray for him. We need to pray for his soul, for their talk about that. How did you get to the point where, because at this point in the book, he's a monster, but you are very conscious, and Baal sees him as a monster, but Dorothy talks about the need for him to be delivered and saved.
What happened was I went back and I was talking to my dad one day, and I found out that he had a brother who went to jail for rape. I think it was two brothers. Mm-hmm. And then in talking to another friend of mine, she had told me before I talked to my dad that he had tried to rape another friend that both of us knew. And I was like, really? So I was talking to my dad about it, and my dad said, I don't know, it's something like with all of them, you know, where two of the brothers had actually served time for rape. And I was like, well, dog, that sounds like a generational curse. Still, I hated him. Mm-hmm. I hated him. And but it's like, when you look at it, had that been my son, would I still want God to forgive him? Mm-hmm. Then I read, it was like the Lord had me to read the Our Father prayer. Mm-hmm. And it was like I heard, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And I was like, wait a minute, my forgiveness is based on how I forgive him? Then I had to remember him as the uncle I had always known. You know, he wasn't a blood uncle, but he was always a friend. Yeah, that's why it was so easy for him to come into my house, because I never in a million years thought that he would have done something like that. And I didn't know the history of his family, because the only time I knew was when he was over, you know, at the house. So I had to start looking at him outside of that couple of hours where he destroyed my life at that point. And it did not happen overnight. Actually, it took more than 20 years for me to get to that point. Mm-hmm. And I, you were with me, I think, when we went to bury my grandfather.
Yes, I did go.
I took the obituary over there, and my grandmother's first thing was, he raped me. And I'm looking at her at almost 90 at that point. Yeah. And she's still hurting. Yeah. When I got raped, I was able to talk to my grandmother because she was the only one who understood. Yeah. She cried with me because she still had the pain. She shared all that she was going through. And at that point, it gets to a point where you have to make a decision. Is this how all your life is going to be? Hatred and fear and terror? Or is there anything better? You know, and other things happen after that rape that made me just hate men. I'm telling you, I just
Yeah.
like, and especially men in the church.
Yeah.
You know, it was crazy, but it was a period of just allowing God to deliver me. You know,
Oh,
when you can be so hateful, so unforgiveness breeds a different type of hate.
yeah.
Unforgiveness breeds a hate that is so bitter that sometimes when you start dreaming about killing somebody,
Yeah.
when you get to the point that you actually go with your gun and wait on
Yeah.
them so that you can kill them, and then the fear of knowing that you can't take this person's life, you can't lower yourself. I'm telling you, I was at the house waiting to kill him. Then when I saw him, it was a fear that came over me, like, but no, he's gonna do this to you.
Yeah.
That's too much control for anybody to have. And I
Yeah.
wanted to be free. So it's like, then, all right, the only way that you can get free is you forgive them. And what reason would I have to forgive him? Well, if he was my son and I was his mother, I would want God to give him a second chance.
Yeah.
He still has a soul. I still, even though I didn't realize that I was an evangelist at that point, I still knew that I didn't want him to go to hell. Because
Wow.
before that, he was somebody I loved. Before
Yeah.
that, he was somebody I trusted. Before that, he was like a family member. But when I tell you one act can change all of that, to the point that when he died, and my father called me that morning and he said, I just decided to let you sleep a little while, you know, because I know you ain't gonna sleep after I tell you that. Well, you know, my dad to letting you sleep a little while at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So
You gotta love
he
old
called
people.
and
You
he
hear
told
me?
me that he had died. And when he told me he died, I said, Dad, I need you to go and just take a knife and stab him in his casket because I need to make sure he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every fear, every emotion, everything came on me that day.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. It was crazy. I remember I was living in Sumter. It's crazy, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
how, but if you don't forgive, you'll always be trapped there. You'll be trapped in that moment. I can kind of deal with the moment a little better, but I purpose not to. So I don't like to really, that's why I think I kind of cut back on the seminars
Yeah.
because I don't want to remember, but
Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah, I actually did a teaching today on forgiveness, and one of the things I talked about is how
And forgiveness releases the control.
right,
It releases the control. If
right,
somebody is still alive, now, I guess you're going to get to that point, but I'm going to kind of jump ahead of you. The second time that I was raped, that person is still alive.
yeah,
You know, I still see him. I know his children. He's not only family, blood family, but you know, he was a minister.
yeah,
Whoop de
yeah,
dad gonna do to that one, right?
right,
So
right,
it's like, well, at that point, I was like, he couldn't take nothing else from me
yeah,
because I didn't feel like there was anything else left for me to give.
hmm,
So he couldn't take anything.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, and so forgiveness, which means it literally means in the Greek to let go of, right? But I talk about how you brought up the forget to remember to forget piece. That what clinicians say is that every time you remember the offense, it's just
when
like
what say?
the clinicians.
Boy, come back to English. What that mean? What that mean?
Scientists, psychologists
Oh, okay.
say
Okay. I'm showing how ignorant I am. Okay.
Anyway, they say that every time you remember an offense, it is just like reliving the offense over again, and it's just like having. And so the emotions of it is not it is not an old emotion, but it is a new emotion all
It's
over again.
fresh and new. It's fresh
Yeah,
and new. And let me
yeah,
tell you something.
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you this, and this is why a lot of women who have gotten married and were raped, certain ways a man can touch you, certain smells, certain if a man, some men want to be playful and they're kind of rough. Oh, that's a trigger.
it's
And you remember certain types of shoes when I see them on men make me jump. He
mhm.
had on steel toe shoes, boots, and they had paint stains on them, gray paint stains. And every time I see him, it reminds me because he kicked me so many times, and I remember the shoes. I remember the shoes. It's a trigger. And
Yeah,
it's not like it happened 20, 30 something years ago. It's
yeah,
like it happened today.
yeah, yeah,
And you have to kind of just shake yourself. And that's why a lot of women have problems with intimacy because certain things trigger a negative response.
yeah. You tell us to know our enemies, right? We need to know our enemies. We need to be aware of them. You even took the time to write a note to the victim. You say you may think that this information is not important to you. I'm here to tell you that you have to be able to know and identify the enemy that is constantly attacking you and why he did it the way he did it. The ability to identify him will be the first step in being able to defeat him. Boldly, you say, you have to know who you are at war with.
And that's because, Michael, if you look at a lot of women who are in domestic violence relationships, let's take it that way,
Mm-hmm.
they will break up with the abuser and turn around and marry the abuser.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't recognize the spirit of the man that raped you, you come in contact with that spirit again
Yeah.
because that spirit didn't get you the first time. So it still has an assignment to take you out. And if
Wow.
you don't
Wow.
recognize it, then it will come and it will defeat you. That's
Yeah.
just like an alcoholic. And they're going to their classes, their AA meetings and whatever, right? But then something happens and boom, you're drinking again. Well, what was it that caused you to go back to the alcohol,
Right.
right?
Right. You don't know.
Sometimes with the
Yeah.
abusers, we keep going back to the same spirit. It just got a different body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
why that was a family member. I promise you, I don't invite male men to my house, especially if it's just me. No, we don't do that. I
Yeah.
don't go out. If I go to dinner with somebody, I will meet you there. And even if I when I did get into relationships, it took a minute. You didn't just meet Dot and
Yeah.
come over. No, boo.
Mm,
I'm gonna do my homework. I'm gonna
mm.
find out some things about you. Well, if you read on in the book, you'll find out that with one relationship, I was kind of more infatuated, but it wasn't that spirit.
It was not that spirit. However, so
I'm still
so
human, but
so so you tell us that one of the first we already talked about it, so I'm just gonna just make sure I put it in context. One of the first steps to knowing your enemy and identifying the enemy is you need to identify, and then you need to forgive, and then you write this and you say. Trust me, I know how you feel because whenever I teach forgiveness, whenever I hear forgiveness, the immediate thought in my mind is, but you just don't know what they did to me. You just don't
Yeah.
know how hard it is. And you say right here, trust me, I know how you feel. I was standing in your shoes. Can I commentate there for a little bit? I ain't just telling you what I read in the book. I'm not telling you because it's the Christian thing to do. No, baby, I've been in the place of hell. I've been in the place of hurt. And I'm telling you to trust me. You don't have to live in that place. I hate the notion just as much as you do, if not more. But in bold black, you say, but I went through the process and I trusted in God to carry me through it.
That's
The
the
first
only
step is always the hardest, but it's the first of many steps to your freedom. You got to want your freedom more. I ain't gonna preach. But my God from Zion, you got to want it more than where you are right now. I want to end with this, and maybe you let me come back because I'm out of time. I want to pray this prayer.
Guess we'll end it tomorrow. We'll end it tomorrow with it.
I want to pray this prayer right here that you have, and then I'll let you have closing remarks. I want to say again
before you say that, before you go into the prayer, I think I shared it in the book where it was even being taught in Sunday in Bible study. I was at Outbreak Cathedral, Michael and Shawnette Dargan, and we were having Bible study, and Minister Isaac Dargan said, "You're supposed to forgive somebody." And I think he said, even if they rape you. And I looked at him, I was like, no, I kind of disrupted Bible study, right? I said, he raped me. Why should I have to forgive him? He raped me. He should be getting up out of his grave right now, coming to me and saying, I forgive you. I ruined your life. I done did this to you. I done did that to you. I done did the other thing to you. Why should I forgive it? And he was trying to justify that thing. And it was just like, no. I went off so bad until Michael and Shawnette had a meeting. They had to schedule a meeting with me. And I was just like, I'm going to take control of this thing. They came over and I went in my office and I was like, okay, so it's like they were the children in trouble at the principal's office. I wasn't feeling it. And then another young lady was like, yeah, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. And that really made me realize how mad I still was. Mm-hmm. It really made me realize that it's not even about him. And, they had to come in and they talked a good game. And I was like, I ain't trying to hear y'all.
They talked a good game.
God wouldn't give me no peace. He wouldn't give me no rest with it. So I had to, because that hole was too strong. And when, I thought it was an insult. This man came in my home, took advantage of my kindness, knew that I was a virgin, and took everything. And then you're going to say, I got to forgive you? No. It's not easy. It's not easy. And sometimes still to this day, I have to remind myself, but you won because you forgave him. He thought he took everything? No, I got more babies than who I could have ever had. Plus now I got Jesus. So I have to talk to myself to kind of keep myself down because that hatred does still come up. I hate Mother's Day because I can't have no babies. And I try to soothe myself with the thing that, okay, you have other children who love you just as much, but still wasn't mine. So it's like, if you don't forgive, everything that the world has to present to you will say that you don't have to. And you're right in not doing it. But you don't have no peace. You don't have no rest. You don't have no joy. And now if I don't forgive, this dead man has now taken control, and that evil spirit lives in my life, and I've lost again. So how do I win? I forgive him. Then I started telling people about that spirit. Then I started sharing my testimony. And now God wins. Because lives are being snatched back out of hell. God wins, because now I can talk to the abusers and understand what spirit is operating. I can talk to them and recognize the spirits that are trying to lay dormant because they don't want to be seen. I can minister now in a way that I never would have. You know, and if I hadn't forgiven, God, all of that would have been ripped from me, because I wouldn't be trying to hear a God talking about forgiving him. No, I wish what I went through on nobody. But because that was my part of my road that I had to travel, then what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Take your lemons and make lemonades out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It has given me a platform that I never would have asked for, and that it's given me a story that has helped so many women. I always say, you know, you can preach to the multitude just by preaching to one. And if that one goes out and shares it, then that message is still given out. I have given away so many of these books, and so many women have told me how much it helps them. Why? Because I forgave, because I wasn't able to write the book until after I forgave him.
Well, I remember.
So this book would not have even been here.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The insight that God gave in this book would have never taken place because I wasn't hearing before. Oh, I know church. That's why people don't impress me when they're in church all the time. I know how to play church. It's kind of easy, really. It's living church that's hard. It's living in forgiveness that's hard. That's walking in forgiveness that's hard. And you know when you have not forgiven somebody, when that person walks in the room or that person's name is mentioned and you get mad. It's too much control. You've given the devil too much right over your life, and you got to take it back. You have to take it back. And it's not easy. I was 27. I'm now 58. That's 31 years. And I still have to struggle with it when I get mad about what had happened. I still had to struggle with it Sunday. Because you robbed me, now I should be having grandchildren and I don't have any. You see what I'm saying? Would my child have looked like me? Would he look like his father? I didn't feel that I qualified for marriage anymore because my father taught me how important virginity was. And I wanted that gift for my husband. So I didn't even feel like I was qualified to be a wife. You see what I'm saying? We give the devil too much control. Mm-hmm. It wasn't up until about a couple of years ago that I felt that I was wife material. See how much control unforgiveness takes from you?
Yeah.
Oh, the devil is a liar.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We'll finish this
tomorrow. We'll finish it. Let me read this prayer here. I got that. Here's this prayer because it goes with the forgiveness conversation. Dear God, I stand in agreement with your son and your daughters who have gone through this horrific event, believing that you will give them the strength to believe this, to begin this journey towards forgiveness and freedom from the torture that they now live in. I know that it is your desire that they may be free to live again in peace, love, and joy. Lord, they may feel like they are alone, but let them know that you are with them, and this is not a journey that they have to take by themselves. You said that you would not leave us comfortless and that you would come to us, John 14:18. Come, Lord Jesus, and let them know that you are with them, not only now, but you were with them from the very beginning, and you will be with them until the end. Yea, though I walk through the valleys of shadows of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of my enemy. Thou anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We ask Psalm 23, verse 4 through 6. We ask and we believe this in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Listen, you need to order the book. Inbox her. Inbox her. That's not the book. That's the doggy.
All right.
There it is. Inbox her. Inbox her today. The abuse stops here. I believe we're going to be here tomorrow to continue the conversation some more. Can I tell y'all something? We didn't even touch chapter 3 good. That's what we just talked about was 1 and 2. Can you imagine what else is there in there? Can you just imagine? You want to be here tomorrow and you want to bring a friend with you. Don't be by yourself. Come at 3 with Dorothy Scott. 58 days of prayer. It'll be our 58 day. Maybe hope. Maybe Don, I can talk hope into giving us a live performance.
That'll work. That'll work.
Maybe in celebration. Let's see what we could do to kind of celebrate on big. All right. And so let me say I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I can't even contain myself. But let me close my mouth and give you back your platform and let you do what you do.
Well, thank God for grace, because I really didn't want to. I didn't want to go through this book. I don't like reliving it, but I know it's necessary. So we thank God for you. We thank God for your persistence in this, because if I had my way, but we'll finish tomorrow. And for those of you who don't know Jesus and the pardon of their sins, Romans 10:9 says, if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus, and if you believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. So if you pray this prayer with me, dear God, I thank you for my journey. I thank you for all the things I've been through. Help me to forgive. Lord, I confess with my mouth that I believe that Jesus is the Son of the living God and that he rose, he died, was crucified, dead, and buried, rose from the dead, and is now seated in the right hand of God the Father Almighty. Lord, we just ask you right now to come into our hearts, forgive us of our sins, and be Lord of our life. And if you prayed this prayer and you've asked God to come into your life, please inbox me. I have some information that I want to tell you, want to share with you. And we love you. And I'm finished. You got anything else to say?
I'm good to go. God bless you all. Order the book.